Welcome back to 20 Side Adventures. My name's Ryan. This is Thaumaturge 301. Hopefully by now we know what the heck this class is, and so we are going to go over many of the feats available to the Thaumaturge and a couple unique ways that you can play this class. You have options to be creating consumable items on the regular through your feats that you can use to augment your playstyle. Do you want to be a caster but you're a thaumaturge? You can make scrolls daily that you can utilize casting with your immense knowledge. Do you like talismans but it's just such a pain to always be able to go into town and buy talismans and fix the right one? You can create talismans as part of your daily preparation. So we're going to get into that and more with thaumaturge feats next. But first, if you like what we do here on the channel, please give a like and a subscribe down below. Pushing for 1,000 subs by the end of the year, and I think we can do it. We're growing pretty quick again, and I appreciate all of your guys' support with that. Easiest way to support the channel, leave a comment down below. I love chatting with you all. And with no further ado, let's get into Thaumaturge 301. So the feats for the Thaumaturge have quite a few options, and there are a few distinct follow-ups that you'll want to take depending on how you want to build out your Thaumaturge. So first of all, if you want to be a ranged striking thaumaturge, ammunition thaumaturgery is a must-have. This allows you to carry your implement, your weapon, and reload without a free hand. So you can use crossbows or one-handed firearms with ease. Diverse lore is if you really want to lean into being the know-it-all thaumaturge. You get to use esoterica for all of your recall knowledges with a -2 penalty. So that can make it a little rough. Now, the most important thing to realize with this is if you're using esoteric lore, you are also subject to dubious knowledge. So while you're going to have this pretty good check across all knowledges, when you critically fail, you are going to get bogus information. So you need other people in the party who might be able to provide a check and balance to you just providing utter bullshit. Divine Disharmony is a pretty interesting single action ability. It is essentially a ranged feint. You can use either your deception or intimidate to present your esoterica, a religious symbol, some sort of strange trinket you've found, to, on a success, make them flat-footed to your current attack, or on a critical success, flat-footed until the end of your next turn against your attacks. So if you are playing a ranged thaumaturge, taking a second level 1 dip to where you can make people flat-footed to your ranged attacks would be pretty spectacular. This also has the caveat that if they are a creature that would be disturbed by the holy symbol you present, so a rival deity, a fiend, a celestial, something like that, you get a +2 bonus to your skill check against it. You could take a familiar as a thaumaturge. It's a strange take in my opinion, but there are some interesting familiar feats you could take that could augment your thaumaturge. Haunt ingenuity, so if you're in a campaign where you're facing quite a few haunts, this is going to give you a bit of an edge to being able to overcome those. What this will let you do is attempt to disable haunts with skills that you're only trained in, which sometimes they can go all the way up to mastery. So this is going to make you very integral in removing haunts that maybe your party just isn't equipped or able to deal with. Your GM will also need to be rolling behind the scenes to see if you're detecting haunts even when you're not searching for them. Root to life, if you want to have a little bit more of a support to your thaumaturge, as a single action, you can place a flower or other similar symbol upon a dying creature and you immediately stabilize them. So a single action stabilize with no check to be made is pretty stellar. By spending 2 actions, you empower the act further by uttering a quick folk blessing to chase away ongoing pain, adding the auditory trait to the actions. When you do so, attempt a flat check to remove each source of persistent damage affecting the target. So if they have multiple persistent damage ticking presently, you get to make a roll against each of them, and that roll is reduced from 15 to 10 on a flat check to remove the persistent damage. Scroll thaumaturgery as another level 1 option. This is if you want to be a casting thaumaturge. You are able to activate scrolls without having to make any other checks. You may simply cast from them. This is going to be a little bit of an action economy pressing you because you will have to draw the scrolls and then cast, but there's plenty of magic items that lean into helping you get things out of your inventory more quickly, but this gives your thaumaturge a wide breadth of options from casting scrolls you've obtained, purchased, or had crafted for you, as well as being able to do your regular Thaumaturge activities. At 2, you can call Implement, which just summons your implement to you if you happen to get it stolen or lost it somehow. Enhanced Familiar, you're going to increase your familiar. Esoteric Warden, this is if you're being a more frontline Thaumaturge. When you successfully use your exploit vulnerability, so this will not work on fails, only success, you get a +1 status bonus to your AC against the creature's next attack, and a +1 status bonus to your next saving throw against the creature. If you critically succeed, that bonus is now +2 instead. You can only gain this bonus once per day against a particular creature, and the benefits end if you exploit vulnerability a new target. So it's a short burst, it's only giving you to that next attack, but still a little bit of an AC bonus for something you're routinely doing. Talisman Esoterica, this is if you want to lean into having talismans. During your daily preparation, you can make 2 talismans, so this could be 2 different ones for your item, or you can make a talisman for a friend. Since talismans are a consumable resource, being able to make them every day just makes having more options available to you without having to worry about the gold expenditure. Turn Away Misfortune is a reaction that when you suffer from a misfortune effect, you can return it to just a basic roll, so you're not rolling twice and taking the worst. You simply roll once as you normally would. This is a fortune effect, so you cannot combine it with other fortune effects. Breach Defenses at level 4, so this is going to improve your exploit vulnerability, and this is one that's going to have to take a little bit of mathing on your part to figure out. So what this does is allows you to bypass a resistance instead of exploiting a vulnerability. So if the creature is weak 5 to fire, but resists 10 to bludgeoning, when you hit them with your hammer, you will deal 5 more damage because you're exploiting their fire vulnerability for 5, but you're reducing your bludgeoning damage by 10. So instead of doing that, you could take Breach Defenses. Your hammer now bypasses that bludgeoning resistance. You deal straight damage instead of dealing a cumulative -5, +5 damage and the -10 from the resistance had you used standard exploit vulnerability. Instructive Strike just allows you to make a recall knowledge after you've hit someone. Now remember, this is a recall knowledge, not an exploit vulnerability. Those are separate actions. Paired Link is interesting if you have someone in the party that you can team up with, either with your magic or with their magic. You break the trinket, share it with your friends. So it's like the 2-heart necklace, you each have one. And essentially, within 30 feet of each other, you can use touch spells on the wearer of the Paired Link item. So if you have a buffing character in the party that's oftentimes trying to give you buffs, but you're rushing into combat, Paired Link, they can continue to boost your Thaumaturge as you move into the fight. Or if you're a scroll Thaumaturge and you're using scrolls very often to buff your allies, you can do the reverse with them. Thaumaturge Ritualist is going to give you a +2 bonus when you're performing rituals, as well as it teaches you a few common rituals for free. One more activation is going to lean into your collecting of esoteric magic items. If you have an item that has a once per day use, you can now do it again. This, however, does only work on items that are half your level or lower, so you're not going to be able to keep powering up the super cool items at max level with you, but the lower level ones that have some benefit, you can use them multiple times in a day. Scroll Esoterica is a great take if you are planning on being a scroll Thaumaturge, because it allows you to make scrolls during your daily preparation. Now, these are starting out as low level, first level spells, but at 8th level, this automatically increases to where you can make a 2nd level spell scroll. Sympathetic vulnerabilities, you can see this is a long one. So generally, your exploit vulnerability works against multiple creatures that are the same creature. So if you see that fire elemental, you know the fire elementals all have weakness to ice. In this instance, and this is the example in the book, if you use your exploit vulnerability on a red dragon who has fire elemental minions because they have the same weakness, even though they are different creatures, you may apply your exploit vulnerability to all creatures with the same weakness in the encounter rather than the exact same creature. Now, this will also work for personal antithesis, which is unique for personal antithesis because you usually don't get to apply it against varied creatures. It is, I'm using this against that person because I know they are weak to the bubblegum wrapper on the end of my hammer. Now you can apply your custom weakness of personal antithesis to all of the same creature, just like you do with exploit vulnerability. Cursed Effigy, this is a single action. It requires that your last action was a strike against the target of your exploit vulnerability. After the attack, you grab a bit of blood, a little bit of hair, you take something from the creature you just hit, and you incorporate that material into a pre-made doll, paper figure, or other effigy. So you just have little dolls on you that you quickly affix this little bit of the target to. As long as you're exploiting vulnerability against that creature, it takes a -2 status penalty to saving throws against Thaumaturge abilities or items that use the Thaumaturge class DC. That will be very important, I would think, for something coming up a little bit later. Elaborate Talisman Esoterica allows you to create more talismans. You can also take this multiple times and increase it to a total of 6 talismans per day. Know-it-all, this is the same from the Bard, and this just gives you even more information when you critically succeed on things. Combine that with being able to use your esoteric lore against all types of recall knowledge checks. You could definitely be the know-everything character. Share weakness. You select an object from your esoterica that has a great personal value to you, such as a locket or a treasured ring, and you grant it to an ally, establishing a personal link that allows your ally to affect enemies as if they were you. So if you want to give the fighter or the barbarian in your party the benefits of your exploit vulnerability, this is how you can do it. Thaumaturge Investiture, this gives you incredible investiture. However, it increases with you based on your charisma score. As you increase your charisma, you can go past 12 invested items, all the way up to 20 possibly invested items. Twin weakness, so this is pretty interesting. There's a lot of text here. I'm just going to shrink it down for you. You've used your exploit vulnerability. You take this 2 action to strike your opponent, and you press your regalia or your tome, whichever implement you had chosen, and you deal their weakness damage to them. So their weakness 5 to fire, you hit them with your hammer, you deal your hammer damage, you deal the extra 5 because your hammer's now flaming, you press the tome against them, and the tome deals an additional 5 fire damage. This, however, will count for 2 attacks for when you are applying multiple attack penalties, but it does let you double up on their weakness damage. And if they're weakness 10 to something, that's an additional 20 damage just from your exploit vulnerability. Elaborate Scroll Esoterica is allowing you to create higher level scrolls during your daily preparation. So Intensify Investiture, this is where that effigy might come into play I was speaking about a moment ago. You bond to your invested items enables you to put more of yourself into them. If your next action is to activate an invested item that has a saving throw DC, you can use your Thaumaturge DC instead. So there is a wide range of magic items that you just level past because the DC to save against them just won't work at higher levels. Well, now all of those items are on the table for a Thaumaturge. You get to use your class DC that scales with you for any invested magic items. That's pretty cool. Shared Warding. So when you gain the status bonus from Esoteric Warden, you can give it to all of your allies within 30 feet. Thaumaturge Demez. So this is super cool. I love this for story. I'm not sure how useful it would really be, but this tickles my roleplay fancy for a Thaumaturge. You get to make a super cool magic base that is affected from Private Sanctum, so no one's going to be able to scroll on you. It gets 3 unseen custodians, and you get to make an elemental sentinel that defends it. So you get 3 magic butlers, a special elemental guardian, and a super cool base. I just think that is really awesome. Esoteric Reflexes, you bond to your implements is so strong you can use their reactive abilities almost by instinct. At the start of your turn, you gain an additional reaction, which you can use only for your implement. So if you took several of the implement options that have a lot of reactions, this could be a good take. If your implements don't have any reactions or don't have that many, obviously this one isn't up your alley. Grand Talisman Esoterica, so now we're making even more talismans, but now you can apply 2 of them to your items at any given time instead of 1, because normally there's only 1 talisman slot per item. Now you can have 2. Trespass Teleportation, this is a reaction. As long as you've exploited vulnerability against the target and they use a teleport ability and they are within 120 feet, you can teleport after them as a reaction. And if you have used Share Weakness or other such abilities where your allies are getting the benefit of your exploit vulnerability, they can use a reaction to teleport with them as well. You remain the same distance from them, so if you're 20 feet from them and they teleport 100 feet, you teleport 100 feet and remain 20 feet away from them, and so do your allies. This is a great way to deal with bad guys that are routinely teleporting and trying to get away. Implements Flight. It gives you a fly speed equal to your movement speed from your implement. 7-part link. This is the same as the earlier paired link, but now you can create up to 7 of them. Sever Magic. So this one's pretty cool. You get to a 2-action ability to just counteract a magical effect in place. using your Thaumaturge class. DC -10 as your counteract modifier, which should give you a pretty good option to just counteract magic spells in effect. Grand Scroll Esoterica, you're making even more scrolls, so now you can make up to 6th, and this will scale with you to level 20, 7th level spell scrolls, making you a pretty effective caster if you can just create scrolls of these levels and use them effectively. Implements Assault, so this one's pretty cool. It's a 3 action. You get to hit everything within 30 feet. If it's a ranged weapon, you get to blast them all and get all the reloads. If it's a melee weapon, it flies from your hand and kind of does the Thor's hammer flying around thing and hits everyone and then returns to you. And if you have already put your exploit vulnerability on all of them, you're getting that against everyone that you hit. This is a pretty solid AoE attack from the Thaumaturge. It does have the caveat of somehow your hands are full when the weapons come back. If you threw it, your weapon falls to the ground. Don't know how that would ever happen with a 3 action, but Intense Implement, if you wanted to give your adept benefit to your 3rd implement, this is how you could do it. Ubiquitous Weakness. So this one is pretty cool. When you use Exploit Vulnerability and choose Mortal Weakness, select any number of allies within 30 feet and their strikes all now gain the benefits of your Exploit Vulnerability. You had to have taken Share Weakness to get here, but instead of having to hand out the item to that person after you exploited vulnerability, everyone just gets it now. And it is a free action rider, a part of your Exploit Vulnerability instead of being that separate action. And because it's really hard, we're going to pop them out here. Unlimited Demens. This lets you take your base with you as a Thaumaturge. You get Resplendent Mansion. It's up to 10,000 square feet. You can just summon Dracula's castle with you wherever you go as a Thaumaturge, making you the favorite person of any party, because now everyone's living in absolute splendor and luxury. They like hanging out with your minions, and you get an Elemental Guardian that's a bouncer at the door. And then Wonder Worker at 20. This just straight up gives you an 8th level or lower spell. Part of your daily preparation, part of any skill feat that you are legendary in, so you would have to spend a little bit of points on this, but you just get to prep a single high-level spell as a Thaumaturge that doesn't know magic, and I just think that's super cool. All right, guys, that's the Thaumaturge. So again, some key routes to go: Talisman Thaumaturge, Meleeing Thaumaturge, Scroll Thaumaturge, and Item Thaumaturge. Just collect all the items and make them as much of a benefit as possible for you and your party. I think Thaumaturge has some of the best feats in the game. I just think they're super cool and a lot of fun. If you like what we're doing here on the channel, please give a like and subscribe, pushing for that 1,000 by the year's end. And again, easiest way to support the channel, leave the comments. I do like chatting with you all. Have a fantastic time on your 20-sided adventures. We'll catch you next time.